It's the Outdated Entertainment Hour. Hi, everybody. My name is Bob Smith. Welcome back to the Outdated Entertainment Hour. You may remember me from my years in magazines and newspapers and all kinds of things, and as a recording artist by the name of Robert Charles. We're going to go back in my history, but that's not important right now. What is important is we're bringing you one of the big stars in contemporary blues, Mr. Tony Coleman, one of the great drummers you will ever hear. As you probably know, Tony worked for years with the great B.B. King. He struck out on his own, made some terrific solo records, and is playing with a bunch of different artists as well. He just made the cover of Living Blues magazine, which is a real accomplishment for any blues musician. He's talented, he's personable, he's funny, he's just a great guy. And I got to work with him on my album called Metropolitan Blue way back around 99 or whatever it was. So for now, get yourself a nice beverage, get ready to hear all about the legacy of B.B. King and one of the kings of the current blues season, Mr. Tony Coleman. We'll be right back in just a moment after this special word from a guitarist who is definitely not outdated. He's Joe Walsh.
Hi, everybody. This is Joe Walsh. One thing I do when I'm not playing rock and roll is get on the air as an amateur radio operator. Also called ham radio, is a communication service provided by ordinary people just like you and me. Ham radio operators are everywhere, in your city, your area, your neighborhood, in any country you go to. We have a national emergency communication system in place, 24/7, 365, in case of natural or man-made disasters, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, you name it, we're there. Find out more about amateur radio at arrl.org/whatishamradio. See you on the air.
Now, regular listeners of this show realize that I've had some musicians on and I've had people surrounding the music business. And as you also know, because I had to tell you about it, I was in the music business myself. For 15 years, I traveled up and down the East Coast playing the blues with some friends of mine. And I was lucky enough to meet somebody who just happened to work for the one and only B.B. King.
Yes,
you know, this is a funny story. Tony, by the way, this is Tony Coleman, the great legendary drummer for B.B. King. Now he's working on a bunch of different musical projects. He was just on the cover of Living Blues magazine, and he's starting a podcast. Tony, it is so good to see you. Welcome back home,
good
man.
To see you. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, Tony and I did some work together on one of my albums called Metropolitan Blue. He played 3 or 4 cuts on there and was a huge help in the studio. I mean, he just didn't come in and play. He came in and was almost like Duke Robillard produced that album, but you were almost like a second producer, and every suggestion you came up with made it better. And I've always wanted to thank you for that, because it's like,
well, thank you.
I think the album came out well. I think it's a nice, diverse set, just like my shows are, or my shows were, I should say. And you're dynamite bashers, the way I always put it, man. You can go. The song Metropolitan Blue is the single greatest thing I've ever. It's the greatest thing I've ever done. Greatest song I've ever done. I wrote it. It just came out like real nice. And I hope you even remember, because what was that? 1999 we did that or something like that?
Of course I remember it. I have the record.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember everything I recorded.
Is that right?
Everything.
That's a compliment.
Everybody.
That's a compliment to me, man. Because you listen, Tony invited us to go and see this wonderful tribute to BB King. What was that, like 2 years ago at this point? 3 years ago? At the
3
Capitol?
years. Well, it was when COVID started. It was that
It
year.
was. That's right.
COVID actually hit that area where we were.
Yeah, I know. And
What was that? In
2020, I guess.
yeah, but
Port Chester, New York.
Port Chester, New York. Yeah,
In a little bit upstate there from New York City.
yeah,
And
right.
the show, I haven't talked to you. The show was spectacular. That's one of my favorite blues concerts of all time because it had everybody on it, including you, who co-hosted the show. And it was an amazing evening. We were going to come back.
I was a co-producer.
Right. And we were going to come back and see you, but as I recall, this is the stupidest thing. My dog was sick.
I remember that.
The dog was sick, and I was like, I just had to leave. But I wanted to let you know how much I enjoyed that show. That was absolutely great. I mean, everybody was great. The spirit was alive and in the air. It was a tribute to BB King, and boy, you couldn't have pulled it off better. It was so wonderful, and I just wanted to thank you for that because it was awesome.
Thank you.
Let's go back in time. We'll start by going back in time. I met you when you remember the BB King Blues Band. And
right.
When did you start? How long did you last? And those were the days, man. I always forget how lucky I am to be able to get to know so many of you guys in the band as well as BB. And just give me a tiny bit of the story of how you hooked up with BB King, because it's got to be one of the best things that ever happened to you, I'm sure.
Well, when I got out of the Army in 77, I moved to Chicago from Orlando, Florida, where I'm from. I'm from Kissimmee, Florida. But I had a band in the Army, and we were a funk band. And the sax player in the band was from Chicago. And we were trying to be a successful band, and to meet up in Chicago. We were like the original Blues Brothers. Let's put the band back together, out of the Army, and I moved to Chicago. We all moved to Chicago, and I was playing with our band, but then everybody got tired of washing dishes and doing stuff, and some of the guys just said, "Man, the hell with this," and quit, and the family. The sax player's in-laws let me and the bass player live at their house. 7 girls, 8 girls lived in the house. And they were like, all of them could sing. And the oldest one was singing with Otis Clay, soul singer Otis Clay. And we were like, so when is the rehearsal? We went to the rehearsal, got with Otis Clay. She said, yeah, these are my cousins. And Otis hired us. And we toured with... we went to Japan with Otis Clay and did Otis Clay's first live album in Tokyo, Japan. And when we came back, Purvis Spann, the promoter from Chicago that everybody knows, and he was a DJ, WVON. But anyway, he had a tour. BB King, Bobby Bland, Albert King, Otis Clay. Everybody was on that tour. And the tour ended in Chicago. And the promoter, Purvis Spann, wanted the house band at his club, to play one more set so everybody could do a jam session. And so when we got there, after we played the Auditorium Theater in Chicago, so now it's on BB's birthday, and Bobby Blue Bland, they're on MCA Records, and we're going to celebrate BB's birthday. And the promoter asked the house band to play one more set so they could have a jam session. And the house band was like, nah, man, we've been here all night. We ain't playing no more unless you pay us. And I knew the guys, and I said, hey, man, Walter, man, we'll do it. Can we play your equipment? He's like, man, you guys are stupid, man. You're going to play for free, man? We said, hey, man, it's just a jam session. Yeah, we'll do it. So anyway, we did it. Otis came up, BB, everybody came up. BB liked the rhythm section and offered us a job. And that was in 78.
Wow.
That was in September on BB's birthday, 78. And then
so he hired the rhythm section, you and
Russell Jackson and Leonard Gill from Otis Clay's band.
Wow.
Neon drums, Russell on bass, Leonard on guitar. So he met us upstairs in the dressing room, and he said, "Yeah, man, his band leader, his sax player, Cato Walker, whose mother also booked the hotels and was in charge of getting BB's, uh, you know, he her husband, Mr. Walker, used to drive for BB, and she was in charge of BB's King Road shows in Memphis, and." So Cato said, "Yeah, Mr. King, want to see you guys upstairs." And we went upstairs, and BB said, "Yeah, I love the way you guys play. You young guys play. How would you like to play in my band?" We was like, "Hell yeah!" And he said, "I talked to Otis, and I told Otis I was going to offer you guys a job. You know, BB was very, diplomatic about it. You know."
Mhm.
And he said, "Yeah, they're good. You should hire them." And he said, "So would you guys like to work with them?" We was like, "Yeah." And then he said, "Well, you seem like the spokesman." So he got Bebop, his tour manager named Bebop, said, "Give him my card," and gave the card to me. And BB said, "Call every Sunday at this number. My office number is 24 hours, and they'll tell you where I'm at and give you the number. So call me every Sunday." And that was in September on his birthday in '78. And I called him every Sunday, and he said, "Call me next Sunday. We'll figure it out. Call me next Sunday. Call me next Sunday." And Russell and Leonard was like, "Man, that guy ain't gonna hire us, man. Forget about it." I said, "Nope. I'm gonna keep calling till he said, 'Don't call me anymore.'"
Mhm.
And then he came back to Chicago for a New Year's Eve show with Johnnie Taylor in a gig in Chicago. I can't remember the name of the place. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, then he had a gig at the Burning Spear again at Purvis Span's place again, and we went to the show, and we were like staring at him from out in the audience on the front of the stage, and then he's like, "Oh, these guys are here." And then we went upstairs after the show. He said, "Well, I got 2 weeks off." And my bus driver, Burnett Fogg, he said, I think you guys know my driver." We said, "Yeah." He said, "He's going to be coming to Vegas and bringing the bus out in 2 weeks. Would you guys mind riding out there with him and get it started?" He was like, "Yeah, sure." And so it was everything. It was a blackout in Chicago. It was so much snow, and it was snow all the way going to Vegas. It was snow just about everywhere we went before we got to Vegas, and it took us 4 days to get out there. And I remember Burnett Fogg stopped at every town he knew. It's like, "Man, are we ever going to get to Vegas?" Then we got there that Sunday, and we had Norman, his valet
Mhm.
assistant. Norman was cooking all the food at the house, and BB gave us a tour of his house, and I remember this guy with the thick mustache, curly mustache, white hair, white mustache, used to be on Hollywood Squares, named Rick something. He goes, "Hi, well, how are ya?" He lived across the street from BB, and he was out in his yard, and he saw us. He goes, "Hi, guys, tell BB hello." We go, "That's that guy Rick from Hollywood Squares." Then we walked in the house, and we were eating, and BB was saying, "So how was your trip?" And the next day, we were going to leave his house, going to Huntington Beach, California, for the first gig at the Golden Bear, a famous little rock club in Huntington Beach. And I remember saying, "So, Mr. King, are we going to rehearse?" He said, "Why do we need to rehearse? You guys know the blues and you know my new stuff, so we'll play when we get there."
Wow.
I was like, "Yeah, okay." Then when we get there, and that night before we left, I had an odd feeling about it. So I called Cato Walker in Memphis. He said, "So you guys out there, huh?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "So are you going to be here?" He said, "No, he fired the whole band, but he didn't fire Caleb, the drummer." Really? So I don't know what's up. So then when we get to the gig, and I remember BB drove his Cadillac, and his Cadillac had BB King 1 on the license plate. And that night at the hotel, somebody stole his license plate.
Oh, jeez.
But anyway, and I met the police officer who worked that night out here in Oregon, who told me he was at that he was the one they called to take that report. Isn't that funny?
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's like 25, 30 years later. But anyway, so Caleb was there. BB's drummer was there, and we had a meeting before the show. BB wanted to talk to us. He said, and when he got us in the dressing room just before the show, he had a handful of silver dollars in his hand, playing with them. And he said, "Here's one for you, you." He gave the four of us a silver dollar. He said, "You ever had a silver dollar?" I was like, "Yeah, man, I had a silver dollar before. What's this all about?" And then he gave us one, and I still have it right here.
Wow. He is holding up in cellophane the silver dollar BB King gave him. Wow.
Back in 1978.
Wow. Wow.
So then he said, I like a good rhythm section. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try you guys out, Tony, and then I'm going to try Caleb. I'm going to have you guys, and I'm going to make a decision after this week. So we played 3 nights there, and the 3 nights, it was 2 shows a night. He let Caleb, he said, Caleb knows my music, but he's been acting up, and if he doesn't straighten up, I'm going to replace him. But we'll see what happens. Then for 4 shows, he would call me up to do half the show with the new music, Never Make You Move Too Soon record, Midnight Believer record. I played all of that stuff real funky and in the pocket. And Caleb couldn't play funky. He played shuffles and stuff great. And he knew all BB's little movements. And he made these little accents with BB's moving. And I didn't know all of that, but I could play really well. And then the last night, BB didn't call me up to come sit in. Then the next day, he said, well, we'll figure it out. And then we went to San Carlos in California, out there outside of San Francisco, at a place called the Circle Star Theater. And it was going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 2 shows a night. And it was Albert King, Bobby Blue Bland, BB King.
Good heavens.
And then Bebop said, Tony Coleman, take Lucille to the stage. I was like, take Lucille? What, am I, the guitar tech now? And every night I was doing that. And Melvin Jackson, the band leader with Bobby Bland, and Bobby Blue Bland was like, what's going on, man? Why aren't you playing? He need to get rid of Caleb. He said, you much better than Caleb. I was like, yeah, I think so too. And then after those 4 days, that Monday, they were going to get on the flight and go to Vancouver, Canada to start a Canadian tour. And BB called me to his room that morning and told me he was going to keep Caleb. And I did not like him for that. That created a bad attitude with me and Mr. BB King. I did not like BB King because of the way he did that, But I said, hey, man, you got 2 of my best friends, and they're great. Just I hope you take care of them. And he said, well, Tony, if I ever need a drummer, you'll be the first one I call. I promise you that. You're really great. You're a nice guy, nice young man, and you play really well. But I'm going to go ahead and keep Caleb. But I promise you, if anything ever happened, you'll be the first person I call. I was like, man, screw you, man.
Disappointed, yeah.
That I still get a little pinch telling that story.
I'm sure you do.
Go ahead. You can. Now I'm talking too much.
No, that's all right. Well, you can't leave it there. You obviously got into the band, so how long did that take? I mean, was it soon that you got a phone call or something like that? How did it work?
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you. I got to tell you. So I went back to Chicago. No, actually, I went to Texas to hang with a friend of mine that I was in the Army with, that I had a band with called Silent Partners in the Army. And I hung with him in Beaumont, Texas for a minute. I didn't go back to Florida. I didn't go back to Chicago. So then I hung out there for like a month. deciding what the hell am I going to do. Then Otis Clay said, man, and I remember Otis Clay saying to me before we left Chicago, he's when we were saying goodbye, he said, TC, I want to tell you something. I said, yeah. He said, listen, if it doesn't go the way you want it to go, you always got a gig with me. If you ever need to come back, the gig's yours. And I want you to remember something. All that glitters ain't gold. I remember Otis saying that. And then when BB did what he did, I could hear Otis, all that glitters ain't gold. So then Otis was like calling my folks in Florida. He said, man, you got to come back. We're going back to Japan again, and I need you to come back. So I went back with Otis again and toured with Otis, and I was back with Otis. And then when I came back from Japan, I decided I'm quitting. I'm quitting music. I'm not going to be a musician. It sucks. I don't like the way, I was just real disenchanted, because I was really green. Like Buddy Guy said, the first time I met you, you was green. You were green as a pool table and twice as square. So I was thinking, man, it wasn't supposed to go down like that, man. I was supposed to still. So then I said to myself, I don't want to be a professional musician. I'm going to go ahead and be a commercial artist and do that and use my GI Bill and stuff to get. I'm into art and drawing and designing and things. I still love art. And but anyway, then when we came back from Japan, I decided I thought I was going to quit, and then I moved to Dallas with my first wife, who had a job with Braniff Airlines, and so I said, I'm quitting music, going to school, become a commercial artist. The hell with music and musicians. I don't like this BS. So I got a job while I was going to school. I was working for Hertz Rental Car at Dallas Airport, DFW Airport, and going to school at night. And every time I go to the damn airport, I run into musicians. I ran into the Count Basie Orchestra. I would run into Buddy Rich, all these musicians and stuff. And then when I left Japan, there was going to be I had got my drum endorsement in Pearl Drums. And my wife and I, we were going to drive downtown Dallas one day. We were driving and I was at the stoplight downtown and I looked to my left and there was a drum shop, a music store with Pearl Drums in the window. And I was like, oh, I should go in there and see if the Pearl Drum magazine is out because I'm supposed to be in it. So we park, walk into the drum shop. When I walk in the drum shop, there's this tall black guy, had an afro, looking at the Pearl magazine in his hand. He said, he looked at the magazine, he looked at me, he said, man, this is you. This is you right here, Tony Coleman. You're a Pearl Drum artist. I said, yeah. He said, are you here to play with Johnnie Taylor? He said, because I know Johnnie Taylor is looking for a drummer, and he called me, but I don't tour anymore. I have to stay with my family. And but I said, no. He said, well, Johnnie Taylor is looking for a drummer to do a tour, and why don't you go check it out, man? And I said, yeah, okay. He gave me the address. Got on R.L. Thornton Freeway from downtown. He told me you'll see a sign say Tag Enterprises, and you'll see a bus, and you'll see a Rolls Royce or a Stutz Black Hawk or some Mercedes. You'll see all these exotic cars at his office, one or two or the other, And it'll say Tag Enterprises, talented and gifted. That's what that meant. So I pull in. Sure enough, his Stutz Black Hawk was there. I walked in the office, and his road manager said, hey, he's here. And Johnny came out of his office, dressed like a star, had a hand with full of diamonds holding a glass of whiskey and sat it down and said, "Hey, man, I'm glad you're doing this gig, man. I remember you with Otis Clay." I said, "Hey, whoa. What are you? Let's get to know one another here. This is my wife, flight attendant with Brandon, blah, blah, blah." He said, "Well, man, we need you, man." And he looked at my wife. He's like, "You're so beautiful. We really need you." He was trying to butter her up, you know. And she looked at me like, "I'm sure you're going to do this." I said, "Well, I think I'd like to do it." So I said, "So when do we need to rehearse and stuff?" He said, "Well, we need to rehearse tonight, man. The band's going to be here, and they got somebody coming tonight, but I know he's not you. I've heard you play. I know how you can play." Because he heard me opening shows with Otis Clay playing in front of him. So I did the rehearsal, and he said, "We got to leave tomorrow night." And we left Dallas, went to Kansas City, did the first show, and I was with Johnnie Taylor.
Wow. You're a young man with a reputation. So, okay. So Otis Clay and Johnnie Taylor at this point, right?
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to figure out
Okay.
how
So now,
BB comes back in the picture.
okay, so I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a minute.
All right. All right.
So I stay in touch with Russell and those guys, and they call me and they go, "Man, Caleb, Caleb has some substance abuse issues, which a lot of musicians did, but not take."
I will interject that the drummer's name is Caleb Emfries for people who may not know who that is. So I figured I would just please continue.
Yeah. So of course they said, "Man, he's screwing up so much, man. He's gonna get fired, man." So I'm with Johnnie Taylor now. I'm like, whatever. So I'm playing with Johnnie Taylor, and we're doing the cool jazz festivals and things of that nature. And we're running into BB and Bobby Blue Bland all the time on different places. So then Bobby Blue Bland had his band leader call me, Melvin Jackson. "Hey, man, Bobby would like to hire you, man." I said, "Oh yeah, yeah, man, and whatever Johnny's paying you, he'll pay you extra." I said, "Oh yeah," he said, "and we're touring with BB a lot, so we work a lot. We're out there with BB. The package is Albert King, Bobby Blue Bland, and BB King, so they tour quite a bit, probably about 200 days a year. It was the package. It was the blues package, So he said, "Well, we're coming. We're coming to Dallas, and Blue would like to talk to you and about it." So I went to the gig at the Longhorn Ballroom, and of course Johnny showed up at the gig, and I was there hanging out with them and talking. And Johnny was like, "Hey, what's up, man?" I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And then the next day, so I talked to Blue. I said, "Well, I'm going to talk to Johnny and tell him that you offered me a gig, and if he can match your price, I'll stay with him, and if he can't, I'll join you." So I told Johnny, I said, the next day, I said, "Hey, man," he said, "Yeah, I saw you hanging out with Bobby and stuff." He said, "He offered you a job?" I said, "Yeah." "Well, what did he offer you?" I told him what he was going to pay me. He said, "He ain't going to pay you that." And I said, "Well, if you pay me that, I'll stay." "Well, you don't need to stay. Go ahead and go with him, because I ain't paying you that, and then you can go ahead on." I said, "Okay." So I ended up with Bobby Blue Bland. So I was working with Bobby Blue Bland, and I was back out there touring with Albert, Bobby Blue Bland, and BB King. We were doing the tour. Bobby had two drummers, me and another drummer named Harold Portier, Peony. And then he was going to fire him because he had alcohol, substance abuse issues. But Bobby had liked two drummers. He liked to work with two drummers, and we played with two drummers. And basically, I learned the show watching Peony. I'm talking too much now. You asked me, "Oh, you want to know the BB, right?"
Yeah. By the way, I know about PD because I had, believe it or not, my other podcast about wrestling, and Rod Bland is really into wrestling. So I had him on the show about a year ago, and he told me what an influence PD was on him too.
He's an amazing drummer.
Hmm.
Except when he get that alcohol in him, he'd be like Animal in the Muppet Show.
Oh man. All
And
right.
then we were touring, and then Caleb BB couldn't keep Caleb in the band anymore, and he called BB called Bobby Blue Bland and said, "I got to get another drummer, and I know you got two drummers, and I promised Tony Coleman if I ever needed a drummer, I'd call him, and I wanna honor that." And Blue was like, yeah, okay, no worries. He said, I'll let him know. So Blue was the one that told me, Doc want to hire you. He called BB Doc because BB like Bugs Bunny. What's up, Doc? He said, Doc wants to hire you. I said, Doc, BB. I said, I'm cool. I got a gig. He said, Blue said to me, listen, put your pride aside. Go on and do that gig because BB can pay you a lot more money than I can pay you. And he works a lot. When I'm not working, he's still working. That'll be a good move for you to go over there with him. So now, mind you, my dad, King Coleman, who was the inventor of the mashed potatoes dance with James Brown, was the MC at the Apollo Theater. So he was a DJ down in Florida, and he broke a lot of records into what was called race music before it was called black music during the segregation period. So they were good friends with my dad, and so they both knew who I was, and they loved my dad. So they were treating me like a son, both of them. So it would be tit for tat. When BB pissed me off and fired me, he fired me 5 times.
You told me that once,
And then
but you always came back, man. You always came back.
but he hired me 6.
There you go. That's right.
So when I get pissed off with BB about stuff, then Blue will take me back, and I go back and forth. It was like, yeah, he was acting up, man. You need to talk to him. And Blue was like, well, I need you back over here for a minute. That's the way it was. It was like a family between
Hmm.
those two. They both were like my dads,
Hmm.
like my two dads. And like I said, they were really good friends with my dad, King Coleman. So then Blue said, go over there and do the gig. So I did it. Now I'm working with BB.
Hmm.
But mind you, in my mind, I never forgot how I didn't get hired and how it was handled. So I always had a little bit of animosity about it.
Right.
Now I'm a young man. I'm young, and it's a real thin line between being arrogant and being ambitious and sure of yourself. Because I knew I could play my ass off. I work hard at it to be a good drummer. I try to be the best. That's still my attitude today. I don't try to be arrogant, but I'm real sure of what I'm capable of doing, and when I can't do something, I won't do it. Phoebe had a band leader came in the band named Calvin Owens, and Calvin didn't want me in the band. He wanted this other drummer, so me and him was always into it all the time. You're not swinging. You're not doing this. He was trying to make BB's band more into jazz instead of blues. And I'm not a very good jazz drummer. I can fake jazz, but I don't feel jazz. I still don't feel jazz. I like pocket music that grooves. I like Art Blakey kind of jazz. I don't like that swinging. It makes me nervous, man. I don't want to hear. I ain't no, I'm a groove maker, man. I ain't no jazz is more introverted to me. It's more selfish. It's like always trying to impress another musician kind of attitude. Some of the jazz players, and they consider anything other than jazz not worthy. That's most of the heavy jazz players' attitudes, with the exception of a few. But anyway, so me and Calvin Owens always stayed into it. He would keep trying to push me to make me, I know how to. I'll just keep pushing him, and he'll blow his top. But I didn't. But I came close to it. BB brought Caleb back. I went back with Blue, and we were still touring together. And different situations, throughout the years, 31 years of me working with BB,
Right.
and different situations, I would always get into it with BB about the logistical things of the things that I thought should change because BB was 30 years older than me. So BB grew up being afraid of white people, and grew up in Mississippi, seeing people get hung and castrated and all that stuff, and couldn't look a white man in the face. So BB was very, very humble and quiet about things that shouldn't happen. He tolerated a lot of stuff that my young black self would not. And I was very outspoken. And BB had the older guys in the band that they just kind of just, yes sir, boss, Whereas I'd be like, man, I ain't kissing BB's ass to be in this band. So I was always kind of defiant about all that subservient attitude that BB was accustomed to from musicians, because because BB paid better than anybody in the blues business and black blues music. BB was the top blues man in the world, at least black blues man. And he ran his business pretty professional. But I was like, we would have to double up in the room. I would bitch about that. Like, why are we in the Dublin? And I don't want to be in a room with nobody. You BB King. We all should have rooms, and everybody else was bitching too. But I was the only one that would say it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he and I would get into it, and he said, "Well, if you don't like the way I run things, you can always go home, son."
That sounded like him.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then that's what would happen. Then he'd end up getting everybody single rooms. But I would always be the one to have to suffer for it.
Well, I will say this: for my time hanging out with you guys, there was not a harder working musical organization in America than the BB King Blues Band. You guys
There never was, and there never will be.
No, there won't. I mean, you guys were worldwide, literally, always on the road. That's just the way BB liked it. I know he lived to be on the road, but I'm sure it had its ups and downs. But as you look back at it, I'm sure you're glad you did it. I'm sure.
Of course, I'm glad I did it. And like I said, I'm just being real with you about it.
Right.
I didn't like everything about it. Like those things I'm telling you about. Like I was the one that would be bitching about the tour bus. About riding in a bus with seats in it. I'm like, and we're out on the road, and people got customized buses with beds in it, and then BB got one for him and his crew. And the band is still riding in a bus with seats. And everybody be bitching and moaning about it. But guess what? Tony Coleman was the only one that would say something about it. Then he'd be like, he'd come on the band bus. How you doing, fellas? How you doing? Hey, boss. Hey, boss. Hey, boss. Hey. Everything all right? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I said, man, y'all been bitching all week about how tired you are riding on the bus and need a bus with beds. But the man came up there and asked you, and now you're kissing his ass, won't tell him how you feel. And well, Tony Coleman would let him know. We would be on tour. The crew bus had bunks, but they had some empty bunks. And I was really tight with the crew. And they say, hey, TC, we leave after the shows, and we go to town early, and BB would leave the next morning and go. And the other bands would leave, like right after the show to get to town early so you can chill. So they said, hey, we got an extra bunk, couple of bunks. You want to ride with us? You can. I'd be, hell yeah. So I was riding with the crew after the show and get in town early and be all relaxed. And then they come in like 4 to 2 hours before showtime sometimes and be all pissed off and tired. Then, of course, somebody have to go tell Norman, if you ever wanted BB's valet, Norman, if you ever wanted BB to know anything, say it around Norman. So they say, yeah, Tony Coleman over there riding with the crew bus. And then he go tell BB, your drummer, he's over there riding with the crew bus. He ain't riding with the band. Then BB'd be like, so son, I heard you're riding over there with the crew bus. Don't we have our own bus? I said, yeah, but our bus ain't comfortable, man. I want to be able to stretch out and feel comfortable, Well, I like it if you just stay with us, If everybody else seem to be fine with it. I said, yeah, that's what they say to you. But believe me, they're not. And I don't understand why we shouldn't have everybody on tour, including yourself, have a great bus with bunks and stuff. Why don't we? And then, well, if you don't like the way I run stuff, you can always go home, son. Adios.
Oh, my gosh.
Those are the reasons BB and I didn't get along. But he knew I was right, but he didn't like the way I made him have to do things by confronting him about it. I'm not going to pay you and argue with you, Cole, man.
You sound so much like him. I can't help but laugh. But again, 6 times in, right? I mean, you were really a mainstay as much as anybody else was during the I guess the second half of his touring life. Really.
Of course I was, but BB used to say things like, "If I ever want to know something, I know who to ask because he'll tell it."
all I know is I love coming out and seeing you guys play. I mean, it was. Well, there was a period though. Maybe I'm misremembering this, Tony. You played with Caleb too, right, for a while?
Yes, absolutely. Because BB felt like, well, one is getting too high and messing up all the time, and one run his mouth too much, arguing with me. So I have them both.
So at least that worked out anyway. That because that's when I think I first met you. That was the setup.
Yeah, and it was great. And then he had me play percussion one time. BB is funny. He you never know what he wants to do. He was open to a lot of stuff. So we were touring with Carlos Santana, and we got two drummers, me and Caleb. And Carlos, of course, got his drummer, and he's got percussion, and he's got conga player, Raul and Carl, who's still there. And so we were in Mexico. We were in Mexico City doing a tour together. And have you ever been to Mexico City?
No, I have not.
Oh my God, must be the biggest city in the world. When you fly into Mexico City and you look out the window, it looks like New York spread it out across the world. It's just like New York City. It's just big, giant, just buildings, people everywhere. Anyway, so security had to be kind of good. We had to be real good because there's a lot of activity, wrongness going on in a city like that. So we had security. So we both had to wait and have security take us to the hotels. So BB had to stay and watch Carlos, and he was going to sit in with Carlos. So Carlos Santana is the reason I played percussion with BB, and Carlos Santana is the reason I had to stop playing percussion with BB.
Yeah, okay.
So BB's going to sit in with Carlos. Now, Carlos has a song, Soul Sacrifice, that you see him play on Woodstock and stuff. And it's a lot of drum solo, but Carlos had the percussion just blazing and amazing and just kicking ass, right? So BB heard all that percussion. He never really had a chance to sit in there while they were doing that. And then we left Mexico City, had the day off, came to New York City, and I'm in the hotel lobby at the Marriott Hotel, right there behind where you get the tickets in Times Square.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And Manny's music store is across the street over there.
Used to be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you remember when it was happening.
Oh yeah, I used to hang out there all the time.
Yeah. So anytime we come there, we go to Manny's and get stuff or whatever. BB would even walk over there and stuff. So we're sitting in the lobby in the hotel getting ready to check in. BB walks up to me, pulls his wallet out, pull out his credit card, said, "Tony Coleman, I want you to take my cards, go to Manny's. I want you to get those bungalows and congalos and those rat-a-tat-tats, all that stuff Carlos got." I said, "What?" "I want you to play percussion, son." I said, "Man, I don't play percussion." BB pat me on the shoulder like he does. "Well, you'll figure it out. Now go get that stuff, son. Call Burnett, the bus driver, and tell him to bring the bus over there and pick it up." I called Burnett. "Man, we don't got no room on the bus. The truck's not around." I said, "Well, you need to tell BB. I'm getting all this percussion. You're going to have to come over here and get it." So I get some congas, timbales, bongos, shakers, all those rat-a-tat-tats and bungalows and congalos.
Mm-hmm.
I got all this percussion, so I'm going to play percussion. Caleb's going to play drums. I'm not a good conga player at all, right? So BB's doing a lot of songs that are really, really slow, and there's really nothing. The only thing to do is take a shaker and go, or hit a tambourine, and then a couple of times, we do some things where I could play boop. I could play. And we're touring with Carlos and Carl and Raul and the drummer. They're like, "TC, that's cool. You're playing percussion." I go, "Man, screw you guys. I suck. You guys are just," they say, "No, man, it sounds cool, man. But you got to take that." I had white first aid tape on my fingers fingers because it was blisters everywhere. My fingers were blazing. They said, first of all, you got to take that tape off your fingers and you got to get those calluses built up. And we'll show you how to play, man. And they would teach me some stuff and show me. And I was like, oh, cool. So they were helping me out. And we did that for a while.
You know, you're jogging my memory. I'm going to just interject just for a second. I think the first time I ever saw the B.B. King Blues Band was around 81 or 80, maybe even 82 in Albany, New York, at a little theater called the Palace Theater. And I remember seeing the band there. And the theater was set up. It's like they didn't even know you guys were coming. There was no staging. They were having troubles with the BB's mic was absolutely, it was feeding back. And behind you guys, there was like no staging at all. I even saw a broom behind you guys. I never saw anything less professional, but that's Albany for you. But we'll leave it at that. But you were playing some percussion on that gig, and you were performing, man. You took advantage of it. I remember BB was singing something. I called you, baby, and you did the thing with your hands for the phone and all that stuff. You were talking into your mics, into your stick.
Yeah,
you were a lot of fun in those days, man. I enjoyed watching you play.
Thank you. I had to do something and be animated and have fun. That's what it was all about. I mean, to this day, I never played for money. I played because I have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, I play for money.
Well,
but,
yeah. We won't.
But I'm saying but if I can't have fun, man, I don't want to be on stage. I gotta have fun, man.
Yeah, sure.
So I'd be listening to the songs, you know. I got up and I called my baby, and I hit the cowbell.
That's right. That's exactly the moment I remember. Boy, you're jogging my head, man. That's great.
And I'd grab the drumstick like, hello. Just do things, be animated to have fun, so the audience can look up there and say, at least the guy look like he's having a good time. But a lot of times I'd be like really pissed off because Caleb would be making it difficult for us or something.
Right.
So then how Carlos stopped was the reason I had to stop playing percussion.
Now why would that be?
So we're in Mexico again. We're in Monterey Jazz Fest, Carlos, Buddy Guy, BB King in Mexico. And now Carlos is going to come out and sit in with BB at the end of the show. So BB, you know, we work it, we play 2 hours, whatever, BB, you know, and then when we play The Thrill Is Gone, that's the last song. So Caleb, when we play The Thrill Is Gone, he's like, and this is what BB said, when Caleb hear The Thrill Is Gone, he's like an old mule at the end of the day. He's going to take it in. He know it's time to go home. He's done. He's done. In other words, he's worn out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then he hears Thrill Is Gone. He's like, oh, this is the last song. So, but then it wasn't, because after we played Thrill, BB was like, now, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to play a little longer. I got Carlos going to come out. Come on out, son. Carlos is going to play with us. How you doing? What do you like to play, Carlos? Well, Mr. King, how about a shuffle? Well, put it where you want it. So Carlos wanted to be a fast shuffle. So Carlos was like, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's really going, right? So, so I'm playing percussion. I'm like, you know, and now it's going from Caleb's getting tired. So BB's like, strike that guitar. Come on, let's go. And Carlos is looking like, what happened to the tempo? And then BB pointed at me, get over there, son. Play the drums. Get up, Coleman, go over there and play. So I said, get up, get out of the way. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a great story, man.
So now I lit it up like I do. So then the next day, BB saw me. He said, Tony Coleman. I said, yes, sir. How you doing, son? I'm all right. I think it's time to get rid of those congolos and get the drums back up, son. So then it was back to 2 drummers again.
You must have been happy about that.
Very.
Yeah. Oh, so it was such a long association, and I don't know what
family. We were family, man.
Yeah, you really were, and allow me to say this about BB King. You know, despite the business, I'm going to strip the business away.
Yeah.
Of all the songs BB King performed, I think Guess Who was my favorite. And the reason it was my favorite is when he sang Somebody Really Loves You, Guess Who? and he would point at the audience, and he meant it. He
of course.
he wasn't faking that. Even though the song is ostensibly about a man and a woman, he was talking to the audience.
Of course.
And he used to do it near the end of the show to tell the audience that. And I was always moved every time he played it. B.B. King never faked a note he sang or a note he played. It was
Nope.
all coming from the heart.
Always. Always. B.B. King is the only somebody that would allow his fans, every one of them that want to see him after the show, until everybody's got an autograph, a picture. He would not only sit and meet and greet, he would eat and seat them if he could.
I tell people that he would you would never find an entertainer in this day and age allow
Not only
fans on his tour bus, but he did it.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Not only meet and greet him, not backstage, a line of people walking on his bus
Amazing.
in the back through his bus. The bus is your house, man.
Amazing.
And you got all these. I used to be really concerned about it, man. I said, man, I hope no idiot gets on there and try to, go off or something.
I think the same thing from afar. I'm thinking, man, who does that? Yeah.
BB did it. He's the only one that would do that.
He was so generous with his time. I mean, no entertainer could even match half of what he did. It was astounding. He gave away more picks and badges and other stuff than any entertainer in the world, maybe autograph photos too.
Look, man, the man signed so many autographs, he had to get an endorsement with Sharpie to put his name on the thing.
That's not even, he's not lying, folks. He's not lying. I saw those Sharpies. I saw those Sharpies. You're not kidding. I saw the ones with his name on them. Oh, he's holding one up right now. Still got one.
BB King Sharpie.
I still got one too. I got one, but I don't use it. Use it.
Sid was amazing on marketing for BB with all the T-shirts and swag and pins and buttons and condoms with BB name on everything.
The little Swiss Army knives, remember those? Remember the little Swiss Army knife with the BB King logo on it?
I got all that stuff, man.
Yeah. I mean, those are bringing back all kinds of memories for me. I just I don't know what to say other than having the opportunity to get to know you and actually play a little music with you was one of the highlights of my life. And I'm not
Thank you.
And I want my musicians, my local New York guys that were there. We had a star-studded cast for the Metropolitan Blue Album. We had Michael Hill, Duke Robillard produced it.
Yeah.
We had the Roomful of Blues horns. I don't think you were there for them. They came after you left.
I wasn't. I just laid the rhythm and left.
That's right. And we had it was probably about 13 people played on that record. But here comes Tony Coleman into the studio, and my guys are. I want you to know our other drummer was Dennis Cotton, who later worked with some major acts, and everybody was like, "Oh God, here comes Tony Coleman." And Dennis is telling me like, "Man, let him do whatever he wants. Just let him use my kit. Anything he needs, just give him what he wants." And everybody was in awe when you walked in, man, because your reputation preceded you, and it was just a wonderful experience. Even a guy named Doug James, one of the sax players, said it was the easiest album he ever recorded. He says it was the easiest session. Everybody knew the roles, and they just sat down and nailed it. And that you guys all made it so easy. It was amazing.
Well, you're supposed to love what you do, and you're supposed to do what you love. But I was raised up with those guys like BB, who even like Ray Charles, all of those guys, they could be the world's worst people on anything in the world that they do, and they didn't do it well. But when it came to music, man, you'll get cut, shot, and beat up if you screw up on stage. They took it very serious. And a lot of cats can't play like that. They can't perform that way because it feels like work for them. But for us, it was, man, we take pride in playing good.
Mm-hmm. And it's the sound. Now, recently, my friend, you were featured on the cover of Living Blues magazine, the magazine I've always considered the Bible of the blues. At this stage in your life, I think that's pretty cool. What's your impression of what happened there?
I'm glad it finally happened. I deserve it.
You do. There's no question in my
No,
mind.
I do, and I'm not trying to sound arrogant.
Right.
I do deserve it because I worked my ass off to be a great drummer, and I still do, and blues. And I've been with every great blues musician, played with them, not just BB and Bobby and Albert King, but every one of them that you can name. I played with them somewhere or recorded with them, and I, I mean, blues is not just a art form; it's my culture, it's my history. And BB made me realize how important blues was because when I first got in BB's band and playing with those guys, I didn't like the blues. I hated it. I didn't like it. I didn't want to play no blues. Man, screw the blues. I ain't want nothing to do with no blues because the blues, every time I see blues musicians, it represents some old country Mississippi guy with his teeth out, drinking a jug of whiskey. Yes, sir, boss, afraid of white people, all that old crapola, people, think blues is a joke. I mean, I didn't like it. It was embarrassing to me. I grew up listening to the blues, and I was a little kid seeing grown black folks buying down to little white kids. Yes, sir, boss. Yes, all that. It was like step and fetch it to me. I hated it, but what it represented to me. So I didn't really want to be in no blues. I wanted to be with Earth, Wind, and Fire and Parliament Funkadelic, James Brown. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. I want to play something funky and happy and grooving and young and hip.
Mhm.
And we'd be doing those festivals and we'd be seeing all those people that I really, really want to play with that I love the music. And then I was playing with BB King. I knew who he was and Bobby Blue Bland, but I didn't really respect it. I was like, man, I got to play these damn shuffles. So then BB would play in Mississippi 2 weeks out of the year in June. They would do the Mississippi Mega Evers Homecoming.
Right. Right.
And BB would basically play for free. And he'd go down there and he would tell Sid, 2 weeks in June, this is mine. I don't want nothing booked in place of this. I'm going to go represent my people in Mississippi and play for them, the ones that can't afford my tickets, and represent Mega Evers and Charles Evers, his brother, who was with BB. They grew up together. They did that every 2 weeks, and BB would play out in the middle of nowhere in those cotton fields out there in the Delta, playing in these old raggedy buildings, these old barn looking like old building about to fall down, looked like a spider in the corner or something, looked like a big rat just ran across the floor, got grass growing through the stage, and we have to dress on the bus. And I'd be on the bus making fun of the place and joking about it. Man, look at this raggedy ass place. I thought I saw a big ass rat. Look big as Boogaloo. And I'd be laughing and talking about Mississippi and all that. And then we about to showtime. Let's go to work. And everybody's getting ready to go in and play. We have to dress on the bus, have to go to the hotel 4 hours away. And then before I go to the stage, BB stopped me. Tony Coleman, hold on a minute. I want to talk to you, son. I said, yes, sir. I heard you making fun of this place and the people out here. You think it's funny? I said, yeah, I do. It's funny. I'm honest. I'm frank. I ain't never been that kind of guy not to say what I felt. Well, you've been around the world with me. We played Carnegie Hall. We played all over the world. We played for dignitaries, presidents, everything. You've been in a lot of places. Don't you think these people deserve a show too? They can't afford it, but I do it every year because that reason they can't afford it. So I play for them for little or nothing. I'm not getting paid, but you are. Everybody's getting paid. And when you make fun of these people, son, it hurts my feelings because it's where I'm from, and this is my people, and I do it for them because they deserve it too. Now, you don't like black people? This is black music we're playing. If you don't like it, well, I understand, but I wish you wouldn't do that because it hurts my feelings when you do that, and I don't think it's nice. And if you don't want to play this kind of music, well, you can stay on the bus. We'll figure it out. It's your decision. So I just wish you would take pride in the blues. It's black people's gift to the world, son. It's black people's gift to the world. Black people created it, and that's what I'm trying to do. And make people happy with it. And if you're not happy, boy, he got on my ass telling this story like every time I do it, I feel like crap. And that's when I woke up that day. in Mississippi when BB got on my ass for making fun of the blues and those people. And I got a clean shaven head, but little hair is popping out on my neck right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that day, from that day forward, I said, I'm gonna be the best blues drummer. I'm gonna take it serious. I'm gonna wipe ass. I'm gonna kick everybody's ass. I'm gonna shuffle my ass off. I'm gonna be in the groove. I'm gonna play. I ain't gonna bullshit no more about this. This is my music, my culture. And that's what changed me. And that's what made me try to be one of the best that ever did it. And I am. And right now, there's been a survey taken about the best blues drummers, and I'm the top 10 of the what they consider the best blues drummers. But some of them I'm suspect about them. But they got all the old black drummers, that played on all those old blues records. They got Ginger Baker in there. They got
Uh,
Buddy Miles. They got Buddy Miles is number 9 and I'm number 10. And I love Buddy Miles. But anyway, all I got it, I posted it, the top 10 blues drummers in the world. And I'm number 10.
well,
And
that's
they're all dead, and I'm the only one alive.
mhm. So this is an all-time list, not just right now. It's just
Right.
all-timers, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You deserve it. You're my favorite. I know that much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Always have been. You should know that. I don't know if I ever said it to you, but you really are. And that's I just blessed to know you, blessed to work with you, just blessed. I mean, it's been like I said, as I get older, I get more appreciative of the stuff I've done a lot of things that mere mortals don't get a chance to do. I've been on stage with
Right.
BB King a few times. It's like at the time when it's going on, you're so busy and you're so full of pep and vinegar, and you just want to make things happen. And once you do it, sometimes you forget to enjoy it at the time because you're really
Yeah.
into it. You know what I'm saying? You're just serious about it. And now that I'm older, I got to reflect on it. I have a great deal of pride and gratitude to all you guys for how accommodating you all were back in the day. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, I look back at those days, man, and it's some incredible opportunities, and experiences that I never would have imagined. All the experiences I've been in and things I've done.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, man. I'm just like The Jerk, that movie The Jerk, Steve Martin. I was born a poor black child, and I was. My grandmother raised me. We were on welfare. I grew up in Kissimmee, Florida. My mother died on my 9th birthday. I didn't have enough. We didn't have money to have things. We had hand-me-downs and all that stuff, and dealing with all the racist bullshit and all that,
Mm-hmm.
and still deal with nonsense. But people like BB and Bobby Blue Bland kept me grounded because they were my dads, and Etta James and all of them. Those people were my friends, and they were good to me, and I love them. And I helped BB change too. I help him understand, man. You need a crew, dude. We don't need to be pulling up at the gig, playing, setting up a gear. We don't need to be rooming and doubling up in hotel rooms. We need per diem like other musicians. Where's our money, man? So I was always on him, and he may not have liked it, but then he realized, yeah, that's the right thing to do, take care of these guys. And he did that. BB took care of us. We had dental and medical insurance. And when we were off, we still got paid half salaries when we were off. We were on retainer.
I did not know that.
We got checks when we was not working. We still got paid.
Wow.
I don't know anybody who do that unless it's Stevie Wonder or somebody. I don't know.
Right. But that was BB's life, though. His life was on that bus on the road, and I don't know what to say other than obviously BB and I were very friendly, but I didn't know him like you did. But I do miss him, and I'm sure you feel the same way.
I miss him every day because he not only did he get on my ass, me and BB had some serious discussions that I could never share because people would think I'm full of shit if I tell you. But I'll just tell you this: there's nowhere in the world like a lot of people don't understand who I am when it comes to those people, the blues. We always get treated like we don't exist, the band like we don't exist. Like we spend more time together than we did with our own relatives. We were on the road over 300 days a year, touring together.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have time to do nothing but be around each other. You think we wasn't gonna fight and fuss? Hell, who else you gonna fuss with? Yourself? Look in the mirror and fuss? So, but I took it very, very, very serious, and I used to be offended when people expected us to be like, "Oh, it's just an old blues band." Like I know we did a show in Montreux, and at the end of the show, they have all the bands on the bill come out and do a jam session. And this one artist's drummer wanted to sit in, and I said, "I got him, let him play." And he was just screwing up, couldn't even play the blues, couldn't shuffle. And then after the show, we were hanging out, and he came up. He said, "Hey, man, thanks for letting me play, but man, I was screwing up, man. I didn't realize how hard it is to play that shuffle, man, like that. But anyway, it ain't nothing but the blues." So I was like, "Man, screw you, dude. Get out of my face. It ain't nothing but the blues." See that kind of attitude, you know?
Yeah. You either feel it or you don't, right? It's like trying to describe the color purple to somebody, or to try to describe what a ham sandwich is. You can't. You either get it or you don't get it. You either feel it or you don't. And oh man, I saw people jam with BB King, famous people jamming with BB, who when he went into one of his songs, they didn't know what to do. And I'm not blaming him for it, because BB was famous and a wonderful guy. Everybody wanted to be on stage with him. But I saw a bunch of his jams, and the musician types were kind of unsuited for the art form, shall we say. They didn't quite get the nuances of what blues music was.
I ain't gonna go there because now I'm gonna piss some people off. So
No, I don't need any names. I don't want any controversy now.
No, I ain't even gonna say nothing about it.
Yeah,
Because people are like lies these days a lot. People like lies. They don't want to hear the truth. The truth always hurts. And yeah, man. So if I said the truth about what people do and what they don't do when it comes to black music and this culture called blues, a lot of white people would be angry at me and accuse me of being reverse racist or something. They'd be like, "He's a racist for saying that." No, it's just either like you said, either you know it or you
or you
don't.
don't. Yeah,
Either you can feel it or you can't feel it.
right.
And when you talking about the people that I work with out here, you talking about being out there around Muddy Waters, Buddy Guy, BB King, Etta James, Johnnie Taylor, Tyrone Davis, all these great black soul artists, Ruth Brown, everybody, all these great black blues original people that I work with, know them, live with them, tour with them, talk to them, eat with them, and all that stuff. And you know them and you play and you are a culture and you get in it and you do it and play it with the right feel. And then you see others that throw away everything that you're supposed to do when you play this music and make billions of dollars. And do you see Tony Coleman out here making millions of dollars? No, I do not. Why? We deserve it. We are it. It's like I just don't understand that. So it makes you a little pissed off. I'd be pissed off about it. But what are you gonna do? If you're angry because somebody kick you in the ass, then they say you the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But see, I've never been that guy. I tell you, hey man, it's screwed up and I don't like it. And people don't like that. They like you to be smiling and grinning all the time and being like, "Oh, he's so nice." But when you say, "Hey man, I don't appreciate this, that, and the other," they go, "Well, he's not so nice. He's mean because he expects us to respect him for who he is and what he's done and where he come from. What a mean guy expecting us to respect him."
Too many people just don't understand. And the problem is they don't try to understand. That's the problem.
They understand. They show who they are.
Well, that part, yes, absolutely.
They understand because they know it's true, but they don't like it when you call them out.
Yeah.
And that's where I get into running the problems because people get pissed off. But that's the truth. I'm not lying on anybody. If I'm lying about anything I said, show me where I'm lying.
I can't do it.
You know.
But anyway,
go ahead.
Anyway, let's take it to 2025. Can you believe it's 2025? My God. First of all, I want to tell people more about your own career in terms of you made a couple of great albums. My favorite is Out in the Open. I remember back in the day telling you that, and that's to me that's just a sweet piece of work right there. And you continue to play with a variety of people. Am I getting this right?
Yes.
And also, you're going to jump into what I do a little bit. You're going to do a podcast, I hear. Is this correct?
Yes, you are correct. I'm ready to do it. It'll be done. I'm gonna interview you too.
Get out of here.
I'm a pod Joecast.
Dude, you want people to listen to your show? Nobody knows who Robert Charles is.
Well, nobody knows who Tony Coleman is. So
No, yes, they do. Yes, they do.
no, man. My pod. Thank you for announcing that on here on your podcast. My podcast. I've been watching podcasts, and I'm not going to talk about anything that's like I said. I'm not going to talk about anything that pisses me off or uh, because I'll be on here all day. No, no, but I want my podcast to be like what we're doing, just having a talk about things and
Mhm.
history and experiences and life, things that you learn in life and all of those things, and just be real honest about it and just have fun and just have a good time and just talk about stuff. I'm not going to talk about politics and all this crap because all it does is make you angry and feel like crap. And I want my podcast to be fun, and I like to have fun. I like to laugh, man.
Me too. And I have two podcasts, and this one's called the Outdated Entertainment Hour. Now, to me, the word outdated simply means it's older, but
Yeah,
it's also classic. It's just a
cool.
fun way. I came up with the term outdated hour, and it stuck, and people remember it, and I think
Yeah.
it's a good name. So we went with this, and to me, my show is just an appreciation, man. This is an appreciation with gratitude, and looking back at the stuff from when I was a kid to now I'm an old man, and
Right.
and just saying thank you for it, because it's like every week we have somebody on. We look back at old rock bands. We look back at Christmas entertainment recently and old TV shows. It's like any kind of entertainment that I enjoyed, I try to impart on listeners. And I guess it's working because I'm going into my second year doing this thing. So I'm thankful that people enjoy it. So it looks like you're going to look at it the same way. It's going to be a more upbeat type of thing, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to talk to musicians and promoters and managers and tour bus drivers and sound men and caterers and security, all kind of people in the music business that do stuff. I said, I mean, I'm going to talk drums and music and all of that, but I want to talk to people about their experiences. Everybody's got a story, and everybody is a part of it. I ain't never felt like I was above anybody, man. I've always been inclusive, not exclusive. And I just always been straight, man. Just if I feel a certain way, I'm gonna tell you. I'm not gonna. I can't pretend like something doesn't bother me if it does. I think you know people need to speak up when something's happening that they don't approve of. With yourself, and the world will be a better for it. And I respect everybody. I don't like everybody, but I'll respect you if you respect me. I'm good. I ain't got a problem with anybody or anything. As long as it's about respect, man. We gotta respect each other, man. We ain't gotta be the same. I work with country artists, reggae, rock. I work with anybody. I love to play.
And you're always playing, right? You're still really busy, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any artist you want to? I just read you were working with a band, and tell me about anybody you're working with regular right now, and we'll let people know where to go and see you too.
Well, I'm just doing everything. I work with myself and my band and other people's bands, and I don't really have any one particular thing I do or that I want to do. I've done so much, and I'm still open to doing different things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, right now, I'm working with Roger Fisher a lot from Heart, the original guitar player from Heart, and he's got put a little unit together, and he's doing some of the songs he co-wrote with Heart, and he's letting me sing a few, and he's got a variety of different types of musicians in the band, and we call it Roger Fisher's Human Tribe. And then I'm working with doing my own stuff, and I'm producing and recording and doing drum clinics, master classes, and even speaking engagements. I'm doing everything, man.
You really are. You haven't slowed down, and I like that. You just keep at it, and I'm grateful, because if you weren't still at it, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. And I think it's just great. And like I said, the living blues thing really knocked me out. It's just, to me, that's like like you said the word finally, and I agree with that. I think that's a little bit overdue. And when you look back at your body of work and your accomplishments, you deserve it.
Yeah, yeah, man, and that's why I'm doing my podcast so I can acknowledge my work and who I am and what I've done because I think it should be known. And how many bands who have played with some of the greatest artists in the world, you don't even know their name. If I ask you, hey, you saw such and such as an artist, who was the bass player? I don't know. Who's that drummer? I don't know. Who was this guy? You used to be, you could look at bands and go, oh, I know who that guy is, blah, blah, blah. Now people don't know. I don't want to die and go to my grave or whatever and nobody know what I did. I've done a lot of great things and it needs to be acknowledged, things that people will only dream of doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if nobody else is going to talk about it, I might as well talk about it.
Damn Skippy. Damn Skippy. And I'm glad to be talking to you now, Tony Coleman. It's been far too long. And
I know, man.
I would, I meant to call you a while back on this, and I get, dude, I still get knock-kneed when I said, I got to talk to Tony. Will he talk to me? Is he too busy? Because I don't know what, specifically what you were up to, and I didn't want to get in your way, So the fact that you agreed to come on the show, it's an honor for me to have you on this show. And again, I can say for the first time in the year-long history of the show, I have the best at what he does on my show, and you are the best blues drummer in the world.
I really appreciate you saying that. And
as we sit here,
I'm gonna say to you, like, I really appreciate you saying that, but I'm gonna say to you, like, what Jimi Hendrix said on Dick Cavett, I'm the best drummer sitting in this chair.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's only one. And one is enough because he's got the track record. It's Tony Coleman, man, and he's coming your way one way or another. And I'm going to
I'm coming,
and I'm going to let you know on further episodes of the show when his podcast debuts, where you can hear it. And I want to be the number one aficionado and get the word out to all the people out there about your show.
And you're going to be one of the first cats on my podcast. I promise you that.
It would be an honor and a privilege. I mean that.
All right, my friend.
It's so good to see you, man. It's just so wonderful to see you. I mean, I feel 40 again. How long was it ago we worked on that stupid record? 1999. So I don't even remember how old I was. I was over 40, I guess. But
doesn't matter. It's still good.
Hey, I made my album debut like I was like 36 or so. I was a late bloomer.
That's all right.
Well, you know what it was? I was working around the Long Island scene and New York City too. And for some reason, what lit the fire into my butt was even before I met BB, I met some other musicians like Jimmy Vivino and Larry Mitchell and guys who I respected for doing things in the industry. And they all thought I was all right. They thought it was okay. So I said to myself, well, if these guys think I'm all right, it must be all right.
Hey, man, just have fun. If you're happy, that's all that matters, man.
It's true. I haven't picked up a mic since 2009.
Well, pick it up. That's your fault.
Yeah, I know. Circumstances, my friend, circumstances.
All right.
But anyway, folks, this is Tony Coleman. There's only one. Thank you so much.
Love y'all, man. Love everybody.
Love you too, man. So how do you like that? Tony Coleman is jumping my action a little bit, and he's starting a podcast. I think that's great. I think he's born to do that. He's got a great gift of gab. He can really talk, and he's got a lot of experiences to talk about. I'll be listening. So look for Tony's podcast coming up soon. We'll keep you abreast of announcements of when it gets closer as we move ahead with our show, The Outdated Entertainment Hour. Write to us at outdatedent. That's outdated ENT, all one word, at gmail.com. Find Bob Smith on Facebook. I'm the only one singing with BB King. How do you like that? I'm also on Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram. I'm Outdated Bob on most of those. I'm just Bob Smith, which is my real name, on Facebook. The Facebook's my main channel. That's where I do my most. If you're not a Facebook member, just check in there. Our website is outdatedentertainment.buzzsprout.com. All of our shows are listed there. If you want to find the show on any of the apps that you might be interested in, just go to any browser and type in Outdated Entertainment Bob Smith. It'll come up. You can choose where you want to hear the show. We're also available at plain old YouTube too. That's it for this one. Tony's a one-of-a-kind guy. I had a great conversation. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did bringing it to you. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. But in the meantime, like I always say, the quote from Ringo Starr that never gets old, and we need it really bad right now, man. Peace and love, brothers and sisters. Peace and love.